CQ, 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 and welcome back to the 599 Signal Report. I am your host, Ron, W2ELS. In the shack with me today, I have TJ, K9KJ. TJ, you're 599 coming out of November Yankee. How am I sounding?
Ron, W2ELS. This is K9KJ. You're coming over 599, as you would expect.
Fantastic. Thanks for that good signal report, and look forward to our conversation here in the shack today. We got a lot to talk about, TJ. But of course, before we start anything, let's talk about your ham radio background. How'd you get into ham radio, and how'd you get into CW?
Oh, man. So probably too long of a story and maybe too boring, but I started out in the CB craze of the 80s. And, lack of cell phone technology back then. I wanted to chat with my friends, and we got on the CB radio and heard about this ham radio thing, but there was a Morse code requirement, oddly enough. And we thought, forget that mess. We're just going to stick with CB. And I had zero interest in Morse code. And when they dropped the Morse code requirement, a couple of my friends and I went to go take the test, and we passed, and we got handhelds, and we were on 2 meters, and that was it. That's all I cared about. We were having a good time, and life was great. Nice. But fast forward to graduating high school and going into college and all that other stuff. My uncle was also a ham radio enthusiast for many years back in the 60s, and he had invited me. He always helped me with different, radio things and mounting things in my car and all that stuff. And he said, hey, we're having one of these ham radio contests over at my house. Come on over and check it out sometime. I'm thinking, oh, okay. And I think it was field day. And I'm guessing this was maybe 1994 or something like that. And went over to his house and went into the basement, and the smell of burning dust on vacuum tubes and people, a bunch of beeps coming out of a speaker. I'm thinking, what is this mess? And a couple of guys that were down in the shack were they're like, oh yeah, Nebraska, there he is, Nebraska. And I just hear beep 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 beep. Yes, you got him. I'm like, wait, I want to be part of this. What are you guys talking about? This is awesome. And that was really kind of my introduction into, I got to figure this out. This is so cool.
Awesome. So the dit-and-dahs lured you in, but how did you learn the code?
Well, I was like, oh, you know what? I want to pass in my technician test. No problem. I just memorized some stuff. I'll just do that with Morse code, right? And to my dismay, it was way harder than I thought. I memorized all the dots and the dashes at the time. Now we're like, it's all audio and you should be learning that way. But I was like doing it visually the wrong way. I did all the wrong things, and it took me way too long. But what I always remembered was pretty successful was my uncle had a code practice oscillator and a key. We'd sit at the kitchen table, and him as the instructor, he would bang out like a letter, and I would sit on the other side, and he's like, all right, tell me what that letter is, fast as you can, like right when it comes in. I'm like, oh, okay. So he'd, throw an A out there, and like A, and B, and B. And I always thought that was the most effective way for me to learn the letters and start to learn it quicker. And him knowing the letters that I knew already, like he wouldn't like drop in something I didn't know yet until he introduced that. I thought that was like so cool. And when I started getting back into ham radio after a period of time off, because life gets in the way, I was like, there's like nobody out there doing that. And I thought that would be a good idea to kind of maybe put some videos out there on kind of how I learned. And so that's kind of where I started to do some like YouTube videos about it. But that's kind of how I learned back in the day. And I was just getting faster and faster, and started playing around with contests because that was like adrenaline. And I like adrenaline. And the rest is history.
Very cool indeed. So you mentioned you took a small break. When you came back, did the code come back naturally?
It did. It took a little bit. I wound up playing around with a couple of contests, and I think two different contests over two different weekends got me back up to pretty close to where I was. I'll admit, as I'm older now, I can't go as fast as I used to even when I was younger. I mean, it was like 40 words a minute was not like it wasn't unobtainable, and now I'm like, whew, that guy's clipping. So it did come back.
So it came back. Very cool to hear. Very cool to hear. And you went into DXing, big time DXer. Let's talk about DXing and why'd you go down that route?
I guess a lot of the folks back in the day were into DXing and adding countries to their list and getting different countries on. I got them. I got 100 countries on 10 meters, and I got 100 countries on 20 meters, and doing all that stuff. And it was always kind of like a nostalgic thing, talking to my uncle, and I've got a couple of uncles that were into it, and I would do contests with them, and between breaks, they would just tell me about, these other, like, this guy, he's got like, 300 countries, and that guy's a big time DXer. And I was just like, man, what does it take for me to become a big time DXer? And it almost kind of, when I kind of got back into the hobby, it was almost kind of like a joke in a way, because I would see a lot of these folks, doing this new stuff
Right.
that I had, it wasn't existing in 1990s. Parks on the Air, for example,
Right.
some of this, summits, all of these things, and everyone's doing like some really cool stuff with like minimal equipment. They're
Right.
climbing peaks. They're doing like endurance contests with POTA. I know there's, I can't remember who was, what is it? RLJ was on like his 500th day of like continuous park activation. I'm like, so like, wouldn't that be a big time DXer? It would what kind of
Mhm.
differentiates it. So as the goofball that I am, I used to put an April Fool's Day QRZ page up on my QRZ page profile,
Mhm.
and I kind of forgot to take it down one year and left it up. And people started reaching out to me like, "Oh my God, you're crazy! What do you? What's that about?" So I came up with this whole big time DXer T-shirt, and I got stickers, and
Nice.
I don't sell them. I just give them away. Anyone that wants one, I just give them away, and it's turned out to just be more of a fun thing than anything.
Yes, it definitely is a fun thing, and definitely appreciate you putting that out there and being a big time DXer.
You know it.
So, field day. You did your field day, you said back then before your break, and then you came back, and there's Parks in the Air. And you got into Parks in the Air. Tell me about Parks in the Air. What drew you in? What's your experience with it?
It was really cool. I was like, wow, what's this Parks on the Air thing? This is, if at first blanch, I was thinking, oh, all right. I mean, go out into the field and get some contacts, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess that sounds interesting to me. But it wasn't until I really saw and actually turned on a couple of Parks on the Air folks that were doing Parks on the Air activations and listening to them, like, whoa, that's like a do-it-yourself contest. And you've got pileups, you got people rapid fire calling you, and I'm like, oh, this is like a CW lover's dream for me. I'm like, I'm gonna
Absolutely.
go activate a park and see if I can get a pileup. I mean, that's like the new, like, yeah, let's go, moment
Mhm.
for me. And I thought that was super cool. And I don't, I've always been I've been doing mobile operations for like many years, and I was like, wow, I could easily convert this into a parks on the air activation. So let's
Right.
go.
Right. Let's go. Let's go. So you like I do see a lot of your videos. You do mobile Parks in the Air. Is that your typical setup? What's your
That is
typical setup?
it is my typical setup because it's only, and I hate to sound lazy, but it's easy. I've always played around with mobile stuff. I used to drive a lot for work, and um, having a mobile setup made that a lot more enjoyable. So I would just do like rag chews. It was all CW. I do rag chews, or um, look for DX. I've got a bunch of DX mobile and stuff like that
Nice.
on my 1.5 hour each way drive to and from
Wow.
work.
Wow.
And Yeah, it's really been made life fun, and I've always had a pretty decent setup mobile. Like,
Nice. Nice. Yeah, you definitely do, and you're taking keys into the truck that I'll never take out of the shack. So,
well, I've had some accidents, like not bad, with the keys. Like,
okay.
I had to like make a right turn to go around somebody that slammed on their brakes, and that 1.5 pound CW key went flying to the right and
Yep.
broke off the paddle and bent some metal. And I'm just like, oh man, what am I doing? So I kind of try to find paddles now that can endure some of that and are
Hmm.
a little bit smaller. So
Yes, indeed, indeed. All right, so you mentioned your YouTube channel. Let's talk about it. You turn the computer on, you turn your computer on, turn your camera on, said, I'm going to record this and I think I'm going to post it. What gave you that motivation?
well, it was I can't remember who had asked me, but somebody said, "Hey, you do a lot of CW, right?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, yeah, I don't do anything else other than CW, so yes, I guess I do." And I said, I was wondering, like, how do you set up the radio for this, or what does this look like on the radio? Because I'm used to sideband, and we got the CW, the tone thing, and this, filters. And I said, you know what? Let me like make a video, and I think I'll just like upload it to YouTube, and I'll share the link with you.
Right.
So I did that, and then somebody else had asked me, how do you do this? So I wound up making another video, and those are still out there. They're like the most generic videos, and I kind of like maintain that generic video mantra throughout the whole video course. But I just started making videos just to help people,
Right.
and most of them are CW oriented.
Very
And
cool.
then I got the idea like, hey, maybe I'll try to make a. I didn't really know how I was going to do it, but just I wanted to replicate that whole kitchen table moment with my uncle going back and forth with another human
Right.
in the YouTube sphere. And I don't know, I think I might have did it okay. We'll see.
You absolutely did. You uploaded the videos where you're teaching CW, and I'll tell you, I appreciate your videos because it's really you're hearing a real fist. And on demand, it's nice to hear a real fist versus just hearing the computer tones all the time. So I appreciate your videos just because you hear that real fist, and that not it's not perfect, right?
I leave the errors in there. I leave the mistakes. I screw up all the time. I mess up. I'll have my pencil between my fingers and and it'll get jammed, and then you know I leave it in there because that's how it is. That's how
Yeah.
life is.
That's how it is, and that's how it is to be on the air. That's how it is to be doing CW. You're not gonna. It's not always perfect code like the computer is always giving us who are learning. So let me just stop and just on behalf of all of those who have learned from your videos, thank you for putting those out there, and thank you for giving us that same kitchen table moment as you had with your uncle.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I appreciate the kudos. I try to keep it light. I do a lot of shorts. Me doing a video with activating a park or contacting somebody, and just to help people know that it's fun too, right?
Right.
You got to have fun with it. It's exciting, and I will caveat the fact I hate to promote my videos really, especially the CW learning ones, because I mean the way to really learn CW is like Long Island CW Club or CW Ops, and I say that straight out. That is
Absolutely.
the way to learn. But if you have like an aversion to like signing up for something or the regiment or antisocial or something, whatever it is, maybe this might be another avenue to help.
Absolutely. And supplement, there are some folks, I got someone who came on the podcast recently, is fully self-taught. So being able to have that as a supplement on the from your learning from LICW or CW Ops, it's an absolutely great thing.
Totally.
All right, so let's talk about keys. I noticed you talk a lot about keys in your videos, and I looked at your key collection and I'm like, that's a lot of keys. So, what is it about collecting keys? And you have to tell us, what's your current count?
Gosh, I think they don't have as much as you think. I think some of the other folks that are out there have way more than me, but I think it's probably like 25 or 30.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
a little bit of a weird obsession, and honestly, I think I'm considering maybe reducing the flock a little bit because there's so many that I don't use, but I just think keys are super cool.
Absolutely.
Whether they be straight keys, cootie keys, iambic, whatever. I think keys are so awesome because it's kind of like the perfect intersection between like art and function. You've got
Right.
this thing that's like creating, contacts, and then there's like an art form around it. And then
Right.
wrap that with like nostalgia, maybe history, and maybe even pride because, hey, I got a Bengali or
Mhm.
whatever. It's just super cool, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as someone who has as many keys that you can put on one hand, hearing 25 is pretty amazing.
Yes, well, I have been licensed since '93, so the accumulation wasn't like all at once, so
Right,
it
right.
took a little while. And
I,
some of them were gifts from, like my two uncles that one of them passed away. So,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely keeping that legacy going is always a good thing. So yeah, so now you also talk a lot about homebrewing in your video. So let's talk about homebrewing. And also you got to share with us what's currently on your bench.
So yeah, I like home brewing. I started out, going to school for electronics engineering.
Oh wow, okay.
I ended up switching gears a couple, like four times. I switched my majors back in the day, but I still have and had and have a love for electronics, and I do like repairing. I've got a Yaesu FT736 on the bench right now that I'm
Hmm.
trying to do a capacitor replacement repair for.
Oh wow.
And I also have a little bit of a secret idea of doing Earth, Moon, Earth, so EME at
Nice.
1.2 gigahertz, and I'm trying to build some of this stuff myself.
Mhm.
It's going okay.
Okay, okay, okay. And in the past, you've built QRP radios as well.
Yeah, I've done some QRP radios. I want to building. There's like a fractional build of was it Cam 4 CFT? I think it
Yep,
was.
CFT Jonathan's radio. Yeah.
Yeah, I wound up doing, I think, a 7-part series because I did full length, like I'm soldering everything. This is what
Yeah.
it looks like. These are the mistakes I made, type of thing.
Wow.
Instead of like, all right, I'm going to solder the capacitors, and then you flip to, all right, they're in there.
They're there.
They're full lengths because I think that's kind of cool for people to see, like you struggling through soldering things, and that's how it goes.
Yeah.
I did that. I've got a couple of, I think I've got a 40-meter QRP CW micro that
Okay.
was like one of those Chinese kits.
Hmm.
A couple other miscellaneous things.
Miscellaneous things. Very cool indeed. And any advice you would give for anyone who is interested in home brewing but scared to pull the trigger on it?
Well, I mean, the cool thing is we've got YouTube videos like all over the place now. So,
Right, right.
I guess don't be afraid to break things because you probably will, and that's when you start learning. And just jump into the fire. It's warm.
Yes, it is definitely warm. All right, well, we're gonna do it. Speaking of fire, guess what? It's rapid fire question time.
Whoa,
So,
I'm
as,
scared.
as always, we will allow guests to answer with one or two words for each of the rapid fire questions. So, the first rapid fire question is current sending speed, words per minute,
28.
28. Paddle, straight key, or bug?
Ooh, that's a tough choice. I'd say bug.
Bug. Now, even tougher choice. What's your favorite key?
And RA1 AOM Russian homemade paddle.
Very cool. QRQ or QRS?
QRQ.
Yeah, very cool. QRP or QRO?
I will have to say QRO.
QRO. Okay. Like that, like the power.
I do.
What is your favorite POTA logging method? Is it paper, pen, computer logging? And if it's computer, what's your favorite program?
Well, one word answer, huh?
You can give you a couple for that one.
All right, cool. Paper is it, as you'll see from my videos, and I get a lot of comments on that too. Like,
I
hey,
bet.
you should try this, this, and this. And half the time is I'm just goofy and I forgot my tablet at home. So what do
well,
I do, right?
well,
and the phone is actually doing the recording, so I can't
Right.
use the phone. So I'm kind of stuck, and it's old school style. But I have been playing around with ham RS or hammers, and
Hammers, nice.
I like that one a lot.
Okay, so hammers it is. All right, your favorite POTA activation spot?
The one right by my house, I
Okay,
think it's US 4206.
that's 4206. What is your favorite contest?
Oh, this is a great question. My favorite contest is November Sweepstakes CW.
Really?
Yes.
No one ever says sweepstakes because it's changed so long.
Nobody loves it. I love it because it's an endurance contest. It's great for everybody. You have to practice your numbers big time.
Oh
There's
yeah.
a big exchange, and I think it's a great exercise for
Wow.
humans. Getting faster and better at CW.
Yeah, no kidding. It is definitely a challenging contest.
Yes.
All right, back to rapid fire. Favorite QRP rig?
I think it's the CFT one.
51. Okay. Shout out to Jonathan. I got to get Jonathan on the podcast one of these days.
Definitely great dude.
What is your favorite antenna?
My favorite antenna. Everyone's gonna kill me. I'm gonna say it's my ATAS Yaesu 120 because I've got two of them.
Yep.
I've probably made more QSOs on that antenna than any other antenna in my life. But yeah, it's a mobile antenna.
It's a mobile antenna. It works. You hit that tune button and the thing's working, right?
It works.
Versus me earlier today struggling because I couldn't get the SWR right on my Wolf River coil, and I'm up and down and up and down, and so
I know.
I lost
And
an hour.
it's funny because at my house here, my QTH, which I have a long wire on the canopy of 5 trees in my backyard
Right?
because if anyone looks me up on QRZ, they'll see that there's an airport behind my house, so which would
Yeah.
prohibit me from doing a lot of stuff. So all of every once in a while, I get somebody that's like, "Well, if I have a great station like yours," I'm like, "Well, let me tell you." I have a 12 gauge wire in the tree that's just sitting up there.
And you're making the contacts around the world.
Yeah,
And the last rapid fire question: are you a morning gray line operator or a late night operator?
I'm a morning gray line operator for sure. I'm
I
a
like that.
morning person anyway, so yeah.
Nice. So you like that morning gray line. Very cool. All right, TJ. Well, this comes to the end of our podcast, but like with every guest, I want to give you the opportunity to give some final advice, not only to new operators, but also experienced operators who are, just looking to do a little bit more. So, what advice would you share?
I would say keep on keeping on. I say CW on, my friends, at the end of all my videos, and it's like keep chipping away. Nobody learns the same way. Part of what I do is I teach college at a college here in Chicago,
Mhm.
and I'm very well versed in understanding learning methods. And everyone's got their own take, everyone has their own speed, and
Right.
just digesting what you can and trying to figure out what things come good to you is going to be part of the journey.
Very cool and absolute sage advice. Well, TJ, I want to thank you for coming in the shack with me on the 599 Signal Report. It was an absolute honor and an absolute privilege, and I wish you a best 73s.
Awesome, thank you, Ron. I appreciate you having me, and to you and all of the folks listening, CW on, my friends.
CW on.